Welcome to episode 9 of Bodies by Brent. I am your host, Brent Ruska, and today we have an episode all about transformation, 75 hard, and much, much more. Today we have Amy Edwards on the podcast. She is a podcast host herself, and she has recreated herself many times throughout her life, and she has a lot of wisdom to give. I'm excited for you guys to listen to this episode, and make sure you stay till the end to get your focus for the week. Let's go. Amy, welcome
Brent,
to the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to have you here.
Me too.
Especially somebody who's been doing radio and podcasts as long as you. Very inspiring, especially your last episode.
Well, you know I'm going to talk because you didn't invite someone in who doesn't talk in front of a microphone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, introduce yourself for anybody who doesn't know who you are.
Okay, well, my name is Amy Edwards, and I'm a podcast host and a radio personality and a mom, and I consider myself a transformation expert, and I'm about to be 49 years old, and I'm twice divorced, and I've been through a lot, and I just keep my chin up and I keep on going. And I also have a background in music, and which we were just addressing, and I took up music at a late age, and I use that, rock and roll specifically, and I use that as a metaphor for life, for rocking life, like taking up whatever you want at any stage in life and just going for it. And there's so many lessons in that about overcoming fear, and I think it keeps you youthful too, and just keeps your mind sharper and keeps you going in a fresh way.
Yeah. So where did you develop this philosophy? So when did you...
Trial and error? I don't know. Just by doing it,
Yeah.
just by, I think the music stuff really was what pushed me, because I was around 40, and the thought of being on stage and really writing lyrics that were true was very scary and very vulnerable, because as a woman, that's not the age you do that. That's the age you're wrapping things up in the music thing,
Yeah.
And so, so it was a huge step for me, and I'm very grateful to the Austin music community, because they were very kind all the way around. They're very accepting and very kind. Like, we have amazing people here. And I think just that was really what shifted everything for me. And I thought, bigger than the music is just the learning that I've had about when you are really real and vulnerable and really putting yourself out there and really not letting fear get the best of you. That's when you have real growth. That's when you have real magic. That's when your comfort zone goes from this to this, and you have a whole new comfort zone. And you know that with training and all that, right?
Yeah.
You push beyond those, and then you've got like a whole new life, essentially, where fear is not ruling you, or at least the fears are new.
Yeah, exactly. Did you always feel that way? Was this like...
That's a good question. Did I always feel that way?
Like, when did this did you feel that way before you decided to take up music, or taking up music was that thing that opened your eyes to being like, okay, I
feel like it's what opened my eyes, but I think growing up, I had a lot of expectations on me in a certain way that I thought I was supposed to live.
Okay.
And I think just with age, that shifts and that changes, because we all feel, excuse me, beholden to our parents in some way, or society's expectations.
Yeah.
And when I first left my first husband and got a divorce, that was huge for me, because that was something so outside of the scope of my thinking. And I was about 32, I think.
Okay.
And so that was the first thing that really, I think, changed me fundamentally in that way.
Well, what was the program or the things you were expected or to live your life? What was that like you were taught?
Like get married in a church and,
just have kids and resign. Like,
yeah, maybe not resign even, but like find a nice husband,
Mm-hmm.
And I think my dad my parents grew up in like the 50s. And so I think that they sent mixed messages. Like, they wanted me to be independent and strong. My dad didn't have a son. He just had me and my sister. And at the same time, like he wanted to provide for us. And at the same time, he wanted us to just go to college and find a nice husband, And so it was like, what do I do? And he was doing his best, and he did a great job. He's a wonderful dad. Was a wonderful dad. Both my parents have passed, but, which is liberating in itself. It frees you of these things that you perceive that they want for you, or maybe they outright want for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that growing up, just all these expectations and as a woman, and you think, well, I guess it's time for me to get married. I guess it's time for me to have kids, and
This is what I'm supposed to do, right?
right, it's supposed to do. And
Hmm.
I think maybe that's really shifting now for a lot of people. I don't know if it's just the pandemic too, and we all see work differently, and we're shifting our mindset. And I think that that was one of the things that I wanted to come to this today and talk about, was that like transformation is hard and it takes work. No, I don't want to use the word hard. Transformation takes work. But it's if we can get that mindset going, even just in little ways in our life, it can serve us. Even if you're working out,
Yeah.
that can really bring this mindset that you can apply to other places in your life.
Yeah. So when you were in that first marriage, was it a realization came to you that this is not actually what I want, or it just wasn't working? Like you realized you were starting to discover like I know what my path is now. Like I want to go a different direction, and it just needed to kind of just dissolve.
I had a child,
Mm-hmm.
and that can change things.
Okay.
And I think that he was young too, and he had a vision for how he wanted his wife to be, and the mother of his child. And I wasn't quite it.
Yeah.
And I just felt fundamentally that we were too different, and he wanted me to be a different way. He wanted me to go to church, and I tried to convert to Catholicism. It didn't stick. It did not stick at all. But I gave it a shot.
Yeah.
And I would think I was pregnant at the time, and my mom died. I had a baby, and just I knew I couldn't adhere to a dogmatic religion, and we just couldn't get common ground on that. And I thought, I don't want to speak ill of him or anything, but it just fundamentally wasn't working. And he said, I want our daughter raised this way. And I was like, but I want to do this, I want to teach her about the moon and, whatever else. And it just wasn't meshing. And so I had to really take stock of that in reality and look at it. And so many times we don't do that, we just keep living that life. And I want to encourage people to step out of it. I'm not saying get a divorce, but I'm saying maybe really investigate the truth and reality of what you're living. Are you being true to yourself?
Yeah. And it takes a lot of courage to see that and also make a change. Because I've trained a lot of people,
yeah.
come across a lot of people in life that they see it, they experience what you're feeling, but then they just, this is just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot to actually go, no, I'm going to change this.
It's really common.
And change your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's scary because we don't know what's on the other side. There's that unknown, you
Yeah.
know?
You must have been, did you feel afraid?
Oh my God. Yes. I
Yeah.
feel afraid all the time. And I'm getting better at navigating that and like not letting fear rule and not coming from a place of fear. But it's super scary. Don't you get scared?
Oh, yeah.
All the time. Putting
Yeah.
out these podcasts is even scary,
Yeah.
It's a leap. It's scary. You're like, is this going to resonate with anybody? Am I just spinning my wheels? Does this even fucking matter?
Exactly.
I ask all the questions, and but it does, and it doesn't matter if it matters or not. Just do it, and then it gets easier. And yeah, that was scary. I mean, getting married in the first place was scary,
Yeah.
and then divorce is scary. Having a kid is scary.
Yeah.
Your parents dying is scary. Like, and can we like sit back in our awareness and our presence and be
Yeah.
like, I'll just take a breath and live in the moment rather than projecting and worrying or getting in that fear space.
Yeah. Did you have fear entering into your second marriage? Because I imagine it pretty intense being like, do I really want to do this again?
Mm-hmm.
Or what was that like for you?
Mm. Yeah, it was scary. Mm-hmm. I didn't really want to get married again. And
Okay.
I did it. I was pregnant at the time. And I was 7 months pregnant. And he really did. And I did. And I ignored some red flags.
Mm.
And hindsight, And so, yeah, it was a unique situation. And you know what? We have a beautiful daughter that came out of it. And leaving was scary. All of it was, but I say scary, but it was really just a massive learning experience. And, you know, it just made me sit back and go, okay, can I pay attention to red flags at the next go round, you know, whenever that may be? And can I, and I think there's an element of like knowing you're going to be okay once you go through all that, and you're just like, you know what, I didn't die. I mean, you know, I'm still like sitting here, you know, able to like take a shower. And, you know, like, I think you get some perspective on that, right? You don't die.
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, okay, I guess I can handle it, even though it's scary, even though I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, or, you know,
It sounds like it made you a lot stronger.
Yeah, I think so. It all makes us stronger, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there, that's
every
when
moment
you started to pick up music.
Yeah, well, that was just a random thing that happened.
So tell me about like when did that thought come into your head that you're like, I'm gonna go on stage and play music?
It didn't really. I had just some girlfriends that were like, we're gonna, instead of getting together for lunch, we were like late 30s, you know, and they were like, we're gonna get an instructor to come every week, and we're all gonna get together and learn instruments. Will you join us? And I was like,
cool.
I was like, I think I had just had a baby, or I was like either 9 months pregnant or just had a baby. And I was like, I cannot do that right now. And then they did it, and they all kind of fell into roles of what they were playing. And then by the next year, one girl had moved away, and she was playing guitar, and they said, hey, will you join us now? It's been a year or whatever. And I was like, sure. Yeah, sure, I will. And so I did, and I picked it up really quickly, and we had a lot of fun. And then, you know, we kept progressing, and we just kept trying, and we were just a cover band, just having a good time. But people would come see us because we'd play like it. Our friends that were in bands would book us to open because we could draw a crowd, because we were like a bunch of women in our late 30s just shaking our shit on stage. And like if we all sucked, we all sucked together, you know. Yeah. We had times where we all sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
what was your band called? Did you have a band name?
We were called the Cover Girls.
Cover Girls.
Mm-hmm. And they're still around now. They're an original band, and that's a whole nother story.
Oh.
There's two original members still in it, I guess. So that's, a whole nother growth experience. But my journey was, once we were doing that, I was like, we have something to say. We should become an original band. And we all kind of started to do that. And that's when things started to just kind of get messy and take a turn of their own. And that's the other story. It fell apart. And they've kept it going. They're called the Misses now. And so they do their thing. But I was just left to where I was like, well, I've been doing this for 3 years now. Maybe I should write some songs. So my band partner, as of late, he actually very sadly passed away. My drummer Yates passed away in December. I know, it's really sucks. Anyway, he was a good friend, and he was in other bands, and he was like, hey, will you open for us? You know, you've got 5 songs written, right? And I was like, oh fuck, sure. I didn't have 5 songs. So I was like, I cobbled together my own band, and I wrote 5 songs, and I performed. And once I did that, I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. And then I reached out to Dwight Baker, a producer, and I started and we hit it off. And he has a band, The Wind and the Wave. He's amazing. And so we just started, I just started writing some songs, and I was still not being fully vulnerable and open in that songwriting. And so I released an EP, and then I was like, I got to really go for it. And so I did. And I just kept trying to grow and push myself in that space, which is challenging as an independent artist too, with all the other stuff that goes with it.
Okay.
But again, it was just really good learning, and really good. And I mean, I had a total nervous breakdown at one point, you know, like I fell apart, but I wrote a song about it. It's called Meltdown, if you want to check it out. And it's dark, and I'm on a slow burn to a full meltdown. And it's just, you know, and I was like laying on the floor crying, and, you know, cause I was like, what am I doing? You know, all the questions that we have. Yeah. With anything we do.
What was that meltdown? Like, what was happening in your life during that time?
What was happening? I think I had recorded a performance.
Okay.
And I was so horrified by how it sounded. The audio just sucked. And I just took it really personally. And I was like, I suck. I shouldn't even be doing this. why am I doing this? What am I doing? And then at the same time, the band I had been in was like doing great things and all this stuff and had all this money to spend and doing all this. And I was just like comparing myself.
Oh, yeah.
Always a kiss of death.
Yeah.
And so a lot. And I remember just having like a breakdown. And I think my husband at the time walked in and I was just like crying on the floor in the kitchen. It was really pitiful. But I picked myself up. I wrote it down. I wrote a song. I just, make lemonades, man. You just keep going, right?
Do you feel like that's one of your favorite, most like authentic expressions of yourself?
Or that whole Forward album.
That whole album.
Mm-hmm. And like from there, I've kept writing authentically. No, I feel like my Magic album is really like from my heart, which is a double album that I put out in 2018.
I'll have to check it out.
Oh, you should. It's all about transformation. And it's, I did a double album. It's conceptually, grand. And, my producer and I just sat down and really worked on it. And the first album is like dark rock, like Sabbath.
Cool.
And it's meant to be an experience and listened all the way through. And it is just a picture of how my life was right then. And then I decided I wanted to transform all the songs and make a statement on transformation. So the second album is all the same songs, but they're done as like a 90s trip hop. And,
cool.
And so the point is that we can take anything in our life and transform it, transmute it, alchemize it into something different. And we don't have to judge it as better or worse. Like if someone transforms their body, they don't have to judge it, If you're working out and losing weight, you don't have to judge the old you. Like, can you find that space where you go, you know what, that was great as it was. And I've learned so much. And now I've transformed into this. And that is great too. Everything is great. Can we get to that space of non-judgment?
Yeah, it's not better or worse. It's just a transformation and a change as life continues forward.
Do you judge as better or worse?
What's that?
Do you do that in life?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I'll just sit here and drink my weird drink while you think about it. I bet you do. We all do.
Probably,
we tend to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's that comparison.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about that next time you're like, I don't know, even if we look in the mirror, are we judging ourselves, And if we're going to truly transform, I think that it's fucking everything is a paradox, If we're going to truly transform, can we find that space in the now where we're not judging it, where you're really, truly happy and love yourself and coming from that space of self-love. And then it's all beautiful. What do you think of that?
So that sounds like one of the keys to creating transformation is letting go of that judgment.
What do you think?
What do I think? I think you're right. I think when training clients, one of the key things to getting them to change is letting go of any like hate or being upset with who they were or where they are now. It's like kind of like letting that.
And the you that got you to that point.
Yeah, and being okay with all of you, right?
Right.
Right. I don't need to change to love myself, but being okay with who I am, and that actually allows them to begin changing.
Yeah, because it really does. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so weird and such a paradox. And I've been on this path of like really trying to look at life like that. I read this book called Existential Kink, and it's so good. But she's like basically saying that, can you love all the whole? Can you even love that dark part of you that was like, eating Takis at midnight, know? And
so kind of like shadow work, it kind of going
100%.
into. Yeah.
Yeah. Only I've become kind of averse to even calling it shadow lately. I don't know. I think I'm just having a moment with it. And
it's just a term I know how to like kind of label it, but yeah.
We do. And that's the thing. Are we labeling it? So can you let go of those labels? Can you be like, that's not even shadow. That's just part of me. And that's okay. It's part of the whole. What the fuck? Who cares? Like, I'm going to love it. And it's tall order. It's tall order. And I'm not saying by any stretch that I'm 100% good at it. It's still a learning process for me. Even just this weekend. I mean, like, that Takis reference is not far off, Like, I mean, so, it's just practice. It's just practice. That's all it is.
What are your practices that you suggest or you use?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. I am very into practices. I am very into habits and developing habits and adhering to them more often than not. I try to take it easy on myself. I think that's one of the most important habits that we can do. And it's just exactly what we were just talking about. Can you just relax a little bit and get in the practice of going a little bit easier on yourself and not beating yourself up, because nobody is going to be perfect, and just loving yourself. Now, that said, then also, more often than not, can you show up for yourself? Can you show up for your best version of yourself? And what does that look like? For me, it looks like meditating every day.
Yeah.
It looks like reading stuff that is good for my brain. And it varies. Right now I've got a stack of like 10 books, which I did put on my Instagram.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
You have a lot of good books, actually.
And I read them really slowly. I like to read actual books. So I'll read like a couple pages, sometimes just a paragraph every day. So people will be like, have you read this? And then they'll lap me on it. They're finished with it and everything. And I'm like, I'm still, on page 63. But that's okay. I don't care. That's the way I like to read. So it looks like that. It looks like I slipped on this, but I do enjoy doing Wim Hof breathing. And I'm trying to get back into that because I think it benefits something about my mindset. Do you hold your breath? Do you do breath work?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I did. I studied yoga in a small town in India. And we did a lot of
that is awesome.
Yeah, we did a lot of pranayama, and it's very similar, but yeah, that breath retention. So that hyperventilation breathing.
Yes, that's what I do.
Yeah, it anytime I feel very stressed and then doing the retention, it definitely pulls you out of thoughts, but it also kind of calms the body down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
I do that while listening to, I use an app called Think Up, and you can make your own affirmations and put your own music behind them. So I'll listen to those and then I'll do that, which is like basically the hyper breath for 30 seconds.
Okay.
Or 30 breaths. I'm sorry. Hyper breath for 30 breaths. Then, exhale, hold it as long as you can. Inhale again, hold it as long as you can. And then when you finally exhale, hold it again for 15 seconds and then repeat that 3 times.
Yeah. Breathing is
all the
different breathing techniques are so useful in different situations.
Dude, totally.
Yeah. One of my favorite is, have you read that book? I think it's like The Art and Science of Breathing.
No, should I?
Yeah.
Should I add that to my list?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if you get the audio version, it's great because at the end of the audio version, there's like 10 2 to 3 minute little clips that just go over breathing techniques.
Ooh, yeah.
So you can just literally go to that. But it goes through all the different studies of like taping people's mouths shut and how it changed the jaw structure and how it, like they developed illnesses when they were breathing through their mouth. And he goes all over the world and gets all this data, right? And one of the things he said is through all the spiritual texts and yada, 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 he sees a common theme. There's a 5.5 second inhale and a 5.5 second exhale. And that rebalances your whole system.
Wow.
So something I'll do is when I go on long walks, you focus on breathing in and out through your nose, because I guess it releases more nitrogen or something like that, helps dilate the blood vessels, get more oxygen or whatever, and focusing on that slow inhale, exhale, that rhythm. And by the end, you are very chill.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Do you tape your mouth at night?
I was for a while.
Well,
I noticed that if I don't go on a walk to train myself to breathe through my nose, that tape comes off like this. But if I do go on like even just a 20-minute walk, focus on breathing in and out through my nose and then tape it, then that tape will stay on and I get way better sleep.
Interesting. No, I like that technique because I've just tried just the tape and like I rip it off in the middle of the night.
Yeah, go on. You have to train yourself to first breathe through your nose a little bit, because what happens is
I'm gonna do it.
You're kind of revved up from the whole day, right? And so by going and calming your nervous system and already taking over your autonomic nervous system and breathing through your nose, then it will continue to do that as you sleep, right? And you'll be in a less stressed state.
Very cool.
And you'll get very deep sleep.
I love that because I think men get more deep sleep than women do, just across the board. And so I've been trying to work. I don't have my Oura ring on today, but I try to like monitor my deep sleep. I'm a sleep nerd, total sleep nerd.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So what are the things you've like hacked with or tried for getting good sleep?
I'm careful about my caffeine intake, and I usually stop at about 11 a.m. And I'm really just careful about anything I take, and alcohol. I mean, just don't do it. It fucks with your sleep, and it will, it's not worth it to me.
No, it's not. So here's like, if you really want to get good sleep, you got to go 30 days without drinking caffeine.
Oh, yeah?
So caffeine has a quarter half-life of 12 hours.
Okay.
So another book you need to read is Why We Sleep.
I've read it. Matthew Walker.
Right, perfect.
Excellent book.
So you still have a residual
Took
amount
me
of caffeine.
so long to get through
Yeah.
it. But
I just watched a bunch of podcasts, so I've read it.
the truth.
That's how I read.
I like it.
Lots of podcast clipping together, and I got it.
That counts. I think that totally counts.
It's in there. I know what I'm talking about.
In there.
And so there's still a residual amount. And even though you still think you're sleeping, you sleep 8 hours, your Oura ring says you're all good. When you take that caffeine out for 30 days, you will get insane deep sleep. I'm talking, so I took it out, and when I went to like kickboxing classes and other workouts, my aerobic capacity was like 3 times greater.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
you don't drink any caffeine?
No, I'm a crackhead when it comes to coffee.
Because it's so good.
No, I know, but there's like, I've tasted, so the first time I experienced this when I was...
I've tasted the fruits of no caffeine.
Yeah, when I was in an ashram, you're not supposed to have caffeine. That's like the Satvig style diet. And as soon as you put your head on the pillow, you were gone, and then you were up.
Wow.
And your brain, like, I remember waking up at 6 a.m. and be like, how is my brain going so fast right now? It's life-changing.
Well, so why'd you stop?
It's just coffee's really good.
It's really good.
It's just so, like, coffee is like, if I had my favorite like drugs and things that bring me joy, it's like mushrooms and coffee. Those two things are like, they're so beautiful. Another book you should listen to is, do you know Michael Pollan?
You read my mind. I was about to say, didn't Michael Pollan do one on caffeine?
Yeah, but it's only an audio. It's only an audio.
Oh, is
book.
it really?
It's super short. So he does an experiment where he doesn't drink it for 3 months, and then he re-drinks it, and he talks about how when he drinks it, it's like a psychedelic experience where like and it truly does feel that way. And you realize, I'm drinking this all the time, every day, and I'm becoming desensitized to it. Must listen for sure.
You know, it's funny. The first time I did Bufo, have you done that? Bufo alvarius. It's a 5-MeO DMT. So it's a very intense psychedelic that you smoke, and you have a super intense experience, and then it lasts about 15 minutes. It's not long, maybe an hour total.
Yeah,
which is great because we got things to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, I let that process for about 3 months after I did it for the first time, which was late 2018, I believe. And I got kind of dark. A lot came out, and then all of a sudden, I came out, and I just everything just transformed one day. I had a flash, like an intense reactivation of it. I think they call it, not really a flashback, a reactivation.
Okay.
I had an intense reactivation.
Yeah.
And that moment, I quit drinking coffee because I've taken it back. I took up tea like a little while after that, but I quit drinking coffee. I became a vegan. I quit smoking.
Wow.
I know. And I had this like sinus thing for months, and I'd even had surgery on it. It still hadn't healed, and it healed.
Wow.
I know. And so now somebody said, maybe that was your higher self, like telling you something, but it's so interesting what you're saying about caffeine. Like maybe I was tapped into something, because I've slipped in the last, how long has it been? A couple years since then. And so now I eat some meat, and now I'll have coffee every now and then. I drink tea every day. And so, that's interesting. I want to investigate that.
Yeah, it's worth trying. 30 days. Try it for 30 days.
I like that because I like treating everything as an experiment. Like just experiment with it. Like I've been saying that about self-love, like on my podcast lately, and I'm like, just fucking, we've tried the rest. I've tried beating myself up. Why don't I try like really like loving myself and saying I love you all the time to myself, and just, I don't know, just for a month. Just see what happens.
Yeah. So my plan is this. And
what is your plan?
You're welcome to jump on.
Okay.
Do you know 75 Hard?
No.
You've never heard
Sounds
of 75
dirty.
Hard? It does. After hours. So 75 Hard is created by, I know very little, but let me do my best.
Okay.
It's created by a guy named Andy, and it was a free program, and he created this as a mental toughness program. And the mental toughness program, it's not a fitness program. You're supposed to do 2 workouts a day, 45 minutes. One has to be outside, and it can't be in a row, right? So the goal of this is to develop mental toughness.
So you do like one early in the day, one later in the day?
Whenever.
That's what
Yep.
Okay.
One has to be outside 45 minutes.
Uh-huh.
You can't have any cheat meals, and you can't drink alcohol.
Okay.
The fourth thing, you have to read 10 pages a day, and you have to drink 1 gallon of water. And I think
Easy.
that's it.
Got that.
And you do it for 75 days. It's just this challenge he threw out there, and people have been doing it, and I've just been listening to it. And you pick a diet. So you can pick any diet you want.
Okay.
So it's up to you what you pick.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's your diet? What are you going to do?
not drink coffee.
Oh.
That's what I'm going to try to do.
Oh,
And so
okay.
like I'm giving myself this, his thing is like, you have freedom once you commit to something.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom is found once you're committed to something,
Again, that paradox.
right?
100%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like discipline through freedom, or that commitment through freedom. So that's
That's what they say. That's one of my favorite quotes. I think it's Miles Davis. And he says, how does the master of guitar get good? Like he just practices and practices and practices and learns that shit. And then what do? You forget all that shit and just play, and it's like, there's your freedom. There's the mastery. It lies in the learning, the discipline, the commitment.
Yeah.
And then you're free. I'm learning that everything in life is a paradox, which is just weird but true. Maybe I'll do 75 hard. I feel like 75 days is almost to my birthday. I don't know what.
Yeah, it's like almost.
Can you calculate that, Eric? What is that?
Yeah, it's like almost.
How many
it's
days
like,
is 75 days?
It's
from
like
today?
the middle of August.
My birthday's the 26th. So
It'll be
what is
right
that?
before
What
your
is it?
birthday.
75 days from tomorrow. I'm gonna start tomorrow. So
Yeah, I think I'm going to start tomorrow
yeah,
too.
I
Right,
think
you
that
gotta
sounds
share.
great.
You got to share with me what your diet is.
My diet will be vegan. It will be vegan. And I do
Okay.
a high protein. If anybody wants to know, I've had a hard time. What is that? Saturday, August 21st. That's perfect. Then I can cheat. Then I can have some fun on my birthday. Okay. Tomorrow's the day. Yeah.
Then we should do a follow-up episode.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do it. This is great.
Yeah.
I need that. I've been wanting something like this. This is wonderful, Brent.
Yeah.
Maybe you should come on mine too, and
Yeah.
we'll do that. So I was going to say too, I know people are very health conscious in your podcast listenership. And so I just wanted to say that it's taken me a while to figure out a vegan diet. I first started.
Tell me about that.
I first started figuring it out. I followed this woman. I can't think of her name, but she goes by the Sculpted Vegan. Have you ever seen her?
No.
She's British, I think, and she's cool, but she's like a fitness competitor,
Okay.
and she did it vegan, and so she shares it all. She's really cool. And anyway, I had to figure out my protein because as a vegan before, years ago, I wasn't ever getting enough protein. That's why I dropped it. And I'm kind of have a sensitivity to cashews, so I was like, well, shit. And so I've figured it out now. So I'm gonna really dive back in hardcore to that. So I do drink a protein shake every day with PB Fit powder in it. And I can get anywhere from like 45 to 60 grams of protein in that, which is really great.
Oh, good.
And then I use Vega Sport protein. I like that one. I know it's not probably the cleanest, but there's other ones out there, but that's the one I like.
Got it.
They have peanut butter flavor.
Okay.
And
Peanut butter's
I like peanut butter. And then I eat a lot of seitan, which is a vital wheat gluten. Have you ever tried that?
yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
And there's a recipe for that you can find online. That's a chorizo seitan that takes about 10 minutes to make, because a lot of seitan you have to boil it or make these big blobs of it. I don't know, it's gross.
Oh, okay.
And I don't do that. So you can just add some spices and a little bit of like vinegar and coconut aminos, and then you can toss it in a pan for like 10 minutes, and then you've got that. And it's like super high protein, low fat, low calories, and throw that in all your veggies with some sweet potato, a little bit of like starches and stuff like that. And that's my thing.
Was that like
And nutritional yeast, and I take a B12 supplement.
Oh, so that was the missing pieces of getting your protein
For me, yeah,
Yeah.
that was it. Like then I realized, okay, I could look at my metrics and I could adjust that and know that I could do that and get more protein, which is it's just tough as a vegan if you're really going to embrace it,
Okay, sweet.
or vegetarian.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do for your 2 45-minute workouts a day?
I actually yesterday decided I wanted to join a gym, And I
Sweet.
haven't been a member of a gym. Obviously, the pandemic. So I was at Equinox, and I was like, it was expensive, and I was like, it's not working for me. So I found a different one near my house that's not very expensive.
Nice.
So I literally signed up for a 3-day pass, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna join a gym tomorrow, and I like to lift weights. So
Good.
yeah. So I'll probably do a morning 45 minutes with maybe some kind of short cardio interval. And actually, I've been reading Kamal Ravikant's Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It.
Oh, interesting.
He has a new version that's a revised version with more in the end, and it tells a story of his breakup and stuff. Have you read it?
No.
It's really good.
Okay.
And I think it's kind of got a little cult following type of thing. And in the end, he was just talking about his workouts, and he was saying that he started working out again, and he was pushing himself further. He was lifting a lot heavier weights and pushing himself, and then taking 3 minutes between sets.
Yep.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
So that's what I was thinking of doing.
So so this is what I do with a lot of clients, especially like when women come to me, is getting them to lift heavier and stop doing so much high cortisol producing exercise, which would be high intensity stuff like jump around, do circuits, things like that. Right?
That's what I've done in the past, and I think I want to shift that.
Yeah. So usually I'll see a better response, everybody, but women especially, as they start to focus on lifting heavier over time in a very, focus on good
I'm
form.
going to do it.
Right. And traditionally you need that 2 to 5 minutes rest in between. But how I'll do it is I'll usually pair a different exercise that doesn't fatigue. So like if you're squatting, maybe you're doing chin-ups in between. So you're still keeping a little bit more of a pace up, but you're going to notice big changes. You should just come train a couple times with me. I'll show you what to do. So when you go to the gym, you know how to do it properly. Right.
Well, I'm a form nerd. So yeah,
Perfect.
I definitely am way into that, but I'll take you up on it for sure.
So what you can do too is with the 75 hard, when you feel like you need to chill out because you don't want to lift 7 days a week, just throw in yin yogas or yogas and just use that as your other exercise.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. My body always responds better when I do yoga maybe once or twice a week.
Yeah,
and
perfect.
I've just fallen off. I've just fallen off in the last. I just got out of my regular practices. So this is a great idea. So, and then the other one, I really enjoy just taking a walk and listening to an audiobook every evening.
Yeah.
And I'll walk for about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, or maybe 35 minutes, just right around there.
Yeah.
So I try to do that every night.
I'm pumped about the walking because I have gotten so far away from it. Everybody should walk.
Everybody should. It's so easy. And for years I didn't. I was like, no, I have to run or I have to, do some sort of cardio. And I'm like, no, I really don't.
No.
I really don't.
No.
And I just enjoy my walks, and it's time away from my kids too. I'm like, you can do it anywhere.
Don't you notice you get the best ideas?
I get great ideas.
It's
love
like
it.
creative workshopping when you walk.
It is.
Right?
Mm-hmm. It clears your head. I love it. And lately I've been trying to wade through Conversations with God. That's what I've been listening to. Have you ever listened to that?
No.
Oh my God. It's
Man,
like
you got all the
26
books.
hours
You got
long.
all the books.
Do I? I don't know. You do too. Well, yours are podcasts actually, but I know the truth now.
Hidden.
When you recommend a book, I'm going to go, did you really read that, Brent? Yeah, Conversations with God. It's mind blowing.
Okay.
But I mean, like it's 26 hours long, and I'm about on hour 3 or something.
So what's like your top 2 books you're reading right now?
Top 2 that I'm reading right now.
Yeah. Because you're reading like 12, right?
I am. Mm-hmm. I've got that. I think that Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. I'm getting a lot out of that because he keeps the practices super simple.
Really?
Yeah, it's just like, say, I love myself. I love myself. Say it over and over. I actually started doing that about 1.5 years ago. Falling asleep, just thinking I love myself instead of just beating yourself up for bullshit.
It's a beautiful. It's like a mantra.
It is.
It's a beautiful way of just, focusing your mind on something positive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like positive propaganda for yourself.
Yeah, it is.
That's beautiful. I like that.
And I mean, I've got a nice stack of books that are amazing, right? But the one that leaps out in my mind is and I've recommended this to so many people, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, have you read it?
I haven't yet. Everyone says it's amazing.
It's so good.
Really?
It's so good. And I mean, I hear the audiobook's great because he reads it,
Yeah.
you
Good.
but I'm reading the hard copy, and I like the hard copy because it's got all these different little bits in it that are like little asides or little poems he writes or things like that. And I like the way it's laid out. And I think I bought it at Christmas, so obviously I read slow. And so I'm getting close to being done, but what a life, and the way he inspires and the way it's written. It's really good. You'll like it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
right.
really good.
I'm gonna-
So that one's a recommendation of mine that makes me laugh.
Yeah. Do you have a book of all time, like your favorite, always go back
Yes.
to?
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
I love that book.
Ah, how good is that book?
That's so good.
Mine is so marked up, and it's a go back to anytime you're feeling resistance in anything in your life. I'm so glad you've read it.
Oh, yeah.
So beautiful. I'm reading his other one, Artist's Journey, right now, which is his latest.
Oh, I have not.
It's a little more esoteric, and so it's good, but War of Art is
It's amazing.
number one.
And the Audible version.
I have not listened to the Audible
The guy
version.
who does the voiceover for it is amazing.
Really?
Amazing.
Well, maybe I should read that.
It's so
I'd probably get a lot out of it.
yeah, it's great.
Well, the other thing that's so great about that book is it's such an easy read. I mean, like literally a chapter is like, not even a page. It's small. It's not thick. I mean, that's my kind of book. I like those. They're not intimidating. You can finish them. And I've set a goal for myself to write a book like that, and
Cool.
one that's very accessible to people. And I'm still figuring out what that's going to be, but that's just a goal of mine that I've set recently.
You just bang out goals. Like you've written 2 books already.
Yeah, well, it sounds like I banged him out. I mean, my novel, The Trouble with Becoming a Witch, took me 12 years, and the children's book Starla took 5 or 6. So I mean, it's not like those just happen. If you want to write a book, it takes a while. So just go easy on yourself. And like the novel, I sat down for a while, I pick it back up, and that's okay. So I know that this one is going to take time, but I am trying to at least set small, manageable goals with it, which is have a rough draft done in the next 3 months, or by my birthday, actually. So by our 75 hard date, I'm like, okay, can I have just some kind of draft, just something, and like just sit down and I don't know, see what comes out. So
What do you feel like is bubbling up that that book will be about?
Something more profound, I think, and life-centered, but still very accessible, funny, and just something that you can return to and maybe flip open anywhere. And I think that's what I like about Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It Too. It's written in a style that you can flip open anywhere and you can get something out of it. And that's what I would like to bring to people. Like, we all know all the rest of it. I know you're supposed to love yourself. And I know, I know some of these basic things. And I want to go a little deeper than that, like Stephen Pressfield does. I'm very inspired by that book. So how can I, Steal Like an Artist, right? That book, Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. He lives here, actually. And I love his style. And his whole thing is like, we're all getting inspired from all different people, and you just end up putting it into your own voice. And you take all these different little things that you've absorbed, and then here's my product of it. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. So I'm not sure what that looks like. A few years ago, it would have been a very different book. Actually, I did write one that I never published. And now I feel like I've gone past it. And like, where can I go now and push myself?
Yeah. So the next 3 months are kind of like just feeling and putting onto paper what could be something.
Yeah, I got a new planner. Oh, damn, I wish I'd brought it. I can't think of the title of it, but it's a 3-month planner.
I have it.
Oh, you do? What's it called?
I don't know.
Damn.
I got it from watching your podcast.
Oh, you did? That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Oh, you're so sweet. I'm so glad. Do you like it?
Well,
Have you dove into it yet?
I did. I took a day and I tried to really go into it. But my problem is with things like that, I never reopen it.
Really?
Yeah. I'm just not I think once I do it, it's kind of like in my head. I don't know. I'm just kind of like.
Maybe you're just more like the audio type,
Yeah. I think
and
there's
that's
a
okay.
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I know. I think
as long as you know that's
for
your
a planner,
style.
I bought it for a bunch of people because I think it's amazing. And I think anybody who likes planners, it's so well done.
It is really well
It's
done.
amazing. It makes you
And
really
just 3
think.
months. 3 months is good.
Yeah, and that's what I like too. I really think about it. I want to utilize it. I just haven't as much as I want to, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
If you
it's
love
good.
planners, it's
We'll
awesome.
put the link in find it, right? I'll send it to you or whatever.
Yeah.
Put the link in the notes. Yeah. So why did we talk about that? What were we talking about?
You were using it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's helping me set goals that are attainable, just for a 3-month chunk. So, but I do like having goals. I mean, I think they're important.
Oh
I
yeah,
like
they're super
holding
important.
myself accountable and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I go through phases where I'm not that good at it, but so what? That's again
It's a
that
continual
part of that
practice.
whole.
Yeah.
And you got to have those moments to appreciate the moments where you don't.
Yeah, goals are a continual practice. And there's periods of times in your life where maybe it's just more intention focused, and then you're like, oh, I got some hard things I really want to try to produce.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just like loving yourself. It's like, sometimes you get out of the practice, sometimes you come back into it, sometimes you try different methods, right?
Yeah.
You don't just go, I'm never doing goals again.
My goal is to never have goals again.
I don't really care.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have a big goal with your podcast you were sharing with me.
Yeah, I do. I want to be the biggest female podcaster in the world.
I want you to tell me more about that.
Do you?
Yeah, why?
Well, I think there's space in it, but I really enjoy it. And as I sat back last year and like took stock of my life, because we all had some time in the pandemic, right? And so I sat back and I was like, how does this fit together? Like, because I had done all these different things like books or music or radio, and I couldn't quite get a handle going through it, how the puzzle pieces fit together. And then I stopped and looked back and I realized that it was all voice, and it was all a way of lifting people's voices, meaning using mine in the most vulnerable and real way I could, and telling the truth and being okay with that and not being scared of how it will land. And can that inspire everyone else to use their voice however they're going to use it? Because everybody's going to use it a different way, and that's cool. And I just thought, you know what? This is easy for me, sitting and doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it so much. And I was like, maybe I just need to get really directional on that and recognize that my purpose is to use my voice to help everyone else's voice rise higher, to help them lift theirs. And once I sat with that, and I was like, I'm going to get really directional on this. I'm going to believe the fuck out of it. And I was like, that's my mission. I had, I know. I was doing these ketamine infusions at the time because I did a series of those.
Where did you do
those
that,
were
by
intense. Illuma.
Okay.
You should interview her. Allie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. She's incredible.
What are those like, by the way? I've been very curious.
They're intense.
Oh,
you
really?
dissociate from your body completely.
Oh.
I know. And you have a paramedic sitting right beside you.
Yeah.
So you are safe. I did have one time when I got really scared, and I remember her touching my arm, and it kind of pulled me back. And later I asked her, why'd you touch my arm? And she said, your heart rate spiked. And I was like, oh, okay. So you can pull yourself out of it. Like, you're aware enough to pull yourself out, but you go all the way, and it's a lot to process. And I had to make my own meditations for it, and really, because otherwise I would get scared or my mind would go all crazy places. So anyway, I made a lot of meditations where I told myself I was safe. So, which is good in life too.
Yes.
Right? It's a metaphor. So anyway, I did one of those ketamine journeys, and I had a vision of like the world and me having wings and like putting it around the whole world and just helping everyone find their own wings and rise. And then there were like wings on voices. And so I was like, okay, maybe that's my purpose, and I'm going to embrace that as my purpose. And so I got very directional on it. And there's magic when you get really directional on something. And I hope to encourage anyone to do that. Just find something, like you were saying something about committing, and just sometimes it's not so much about, what you're committing to, but are you really committing? And so it was just nice to find that sense of purpose, which I hadn't really felt before. And it takes time, and go easy on yourself if you don't find it. It's okay to flow with these other things you're supposed to learn. But I finally felt like I came into it, and I just thought, all right, I'll just see what happens now. I'll be the biggest female podcaster in the world. That there's space in that right now. I can see that. And so the next day, my boss at the Statesman invited me to have a drink in JB Hager has like a Airstream trailer behind the Statesman, and everyone was meeting there that day. So I was like, okay. And I had not done that at all. I hadn't been anywhere for drinks because it was like June, I think, pandemic time. And so I went and I was sitting beside this girl that was just so cute, and we just started talking. And she was like, I was like, well, what do you do? And she was like, oh, we're starting a podcast network upstairs here. And I was like, what?
Cool.
And she was like, yeah, I'm the content director. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, we're looking for. I was like, well, what are you looking for? What are you doing? She was like, well, we're starting it all out. We're starting new shows, and we're really looking for women right now who aren't celebrities, and we like things with a music background.
That's
and
trippy.
I know. And I was like, am I dreaming right now?
What's happening?
I know. I mean, literally the next day. And I was like, well, if this isn't a sign, I don't know what is. And I said, Natalie, can I pitch to you? And I was like, I told her, I said, yesterday I got directional on this. This is my mission or whatever. And she was like,
Nice.
oh, hell yeah. Yeah. I just told her straight out, like, don't hide those things. Like, let them out. And she was like aligned with that. She was like, oh yeah, hell yeah. And so that was in June. And I mean, it takes time. I ended up signing with them in October, started recording in November, and released it. And the whole podcast network launched in January. So, it's taking steps, and I'm working on enjoying the step I'm at now, which is challenging because you're like, why am I not there? And, but that's okay. I mean, can you just be in that space of like, hey, this is part of the steps to your goal. Like, can I enjoy this moment? Can I enjoy day 38 of the 75 days rather,
Exactly.
So that's how it came about. And that's how I got this vision of this podcast space. And, everybody was like, oh, Joe Rogan, well, he's moved to Austin. You should meet him. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure I'm just going to fucking meet Joe Rogan. And then I did. And then I met Joe Rogan, and I was like, wow, I was just like, okay, maybe I'm on the path.
You're in the flow.
I hope so, Brent.
You're in the flow.
Mean,
this is something
flowy.
This is something I like to tell myself.
Okay.
And remind myself is I read a book when I was like 17. It's called like Mastery.
You read the actual book?
Yeah.
Let me
it was
just
very
check.
small. It was
Let me
very
check in on mine.
It was very small.
Okay.
So I could handle it.
It was like a pamphlet.
Yeah, almost. It was like 50 pages. And it was called, I think it was called Mastery or something like that. And it changed my mindset, the way I looked at, like, when I first started personal training. It was like, I never looked at it like there was some end goal. Try to just show up and like enjoy the process of continually getting better. Like they say, like with martial arts, the belt system never ends. You can be like a 9th degree black belt, but you're still refining the punch that you learned from the very beginning when you were a white belt. And the goal is there is no end. Like back in the day when someone was a ironsmith or whatever job they had, they just continually did it. And the joy from it came from getting lost as they got better and better and better.
Totally.
But they were still always in that beginner mindset. And so for me, like, I'm similar. I'm starting this podcast journey, or with training, it's like, got to pull yourself back from like, yes, you need a goal and a vision and, be shooting for that, but get lost in that like flow state and enjoy like, oh, this part got a little bit easier for me, or this flowed a little better. Cause that's where the fucking good shit is getting lost in that. Right.
Yes.
Like, what is the joy for you for podcasting? Like, what are all the pieces you love about it?
Right. I just love sitting and talking and learning, and like,
and it's getting lost together, and you're just like, it's a fucking high, man.
It is.
It's so good.
Yeah, it is. You're so right. Yeah, and you read my mind that you brought up martial arts, or maybe I sent you that. Yeah, when I interviewed Rafael Lovato Jr., that was one of his main things that he said. He was so incredible. But it was just about, he said, once I started teaching is when the real learning began. And I was like, wow. He was so inspiring because that's where he lives. He lives in that mastery space of being in the moment, and just, that's the true master, and it's amazing. So yeah,
you're going to get wherever you get, you're going to get far, and it's going to be enjoyable.
It's nice of you to say.
And you're going to,
thank you.
Yeah, you're definitely in.
It makes my heart feel good.
I had a similar
really
experience in the sense that I think with the pandemic, we all had a hard stop, and you had an opportunity to reflect. And it sounds like you really used that opportunity.
I did.
And then now it's like, once the gates open, now the energy's flowing.
I used that time to hone my practices. Like when you were talking about habits earlier, like I had a list of habits I used James Clear's habit tracker during that time.
Okay.
And, which I love, cause I love a nice little list, and you can make these lists. And, But, I was really striving to do those things every day, do the breathing every day, show up for myself. I did not drink, and I did consume caffeine, but that was about it. I mean, like I ate really healthfully, very pretty strict actually. And, I just did all the things to really get my mind where I needed to be and just really develop those practices. And I enjoyed it. It was a good time to do that.
Yeah, I am grateful for the opportunity to have that hard pause during the pandemic.
Me too.
I'm very grateful for it. Well, I could talk to you all day long,
Well,
but we got to wrap up.
You probably have 8 more podcasts you're recording today.
At least one more. So where do we find you? I love your podcast, but tell me all the places we find you and connect with you.
Well, I think as we go to, I just want to take a second to reiterate that transformation is possible and takes a little work, but it's that paradox of loving where you are and not being so hard on yourself and not judging you. And just like take stock for a minute. What's my highest version look like? What would my highest version do in this moment? Would I come from love? Would I come from anger? And there's not a right answer, Maybe you have a moment of anger, that's okay. Or maybe you have a moment of judgment, but can you just step out of it a little bit and say, that's okay. That's okay too, So I just also want to take a second to say, like, what you brought up when I was like, what are we going to talk about? And you were like, just doing stuff at any age. And I just want to take a second to tell people that no matter where you are in life, there's always a space to transform. And yesterday I even had a woman saying, oh, I'm too old for that, whatever it was. And I was like, you're really not. You're really not. There are people doing it at every age. And so whatever your dream is, just give it a shot. Like, you'll learn. At the very least, you'll learn. And that's a beautiful thing. So anyway, I just wanted to end with that.
No, I love that.
Yeah.
That is something I want everybody, all my clients and everybody to know. Don't put these self-limiting beliefs on you from society, from your family, from whoever. You got to reflect on those and uproot those, pull those out of the dirt, like get those weeds out of there, because there's no reason you can't do new creative cool shit until the day you die.
Right. And just accept that it got you to this point. All of it is a beautiful thing because it got you right here, right now. And so what you going to do with it, right?
100%.
So yes, everyone can find me on Instagram at Real Amy Edwards. And also my podcast is called The Amy Edwards Show. And it is available on all platforms and YouTube and on Hot Pie Media. And I guess that's the main gist of it. My books are out. They're available on my website, which is amyedwards.com.
Awesome. Well, Amy, I'm very grateful for you.
I'm so grateful.
Spending your day with me. I appreciate it.
Oh, so fun. I learned so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love what you're bringing to the world.
Thank
and I'm extremely grateful that you reached out to me, and I'm glad to call you a friend now.
Yes, me too. And then 75 Hard begins tomorrow.
I'm so excited. And then we're going to follow up with it.
Yes, we are. All right. See you guys next time. That was a super fun episode. Definitely got lost in some flow state with that one. So grateful to have Amy grace my podcast. She was super fun to have a conversation with. And your focus for the week is picking one of the books Amy mentioned in this episode. And if you don't remember, go back through or feel free to shoot her a DM on Instagram. But picking one of those books focused on moving through resistance or focused on developing a practice of self-love. These are the two things I want you to kind of pick from, and pick one of those books and begin spending a couple minutes a day starting to dive into this book. All right. Thank you so much for watching the podcast. Please share this with anybody you think would enjoy it, and I'll see you next time.